1980s Los Angeles is exactly the place you would expect a legendary band to come from. But maybe not in the form of 4 high school students that would smoke weed together after school. Formed in 1983 by singer Anthony Kiedis, guitarist Hillel Slovak, bassist Flea, and drummer Jack Irons, who were all classmates. The Red Hot Chili Peppers were just a couple of friends having fun. In the beginning, they were improvising the music while Anthony rapped over it.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, get up and jump!
The guitarist and the drummer of the group were also in another band called What Is This, and decided to commit to them rather than their newly formed band. Despite this, after playing the first gig as the Chili Peppers, they returned the next week to play one more. Unfortunately, after playing a few more shows, What Is This got a record deal with MCA, and so Slovak and Irons quit the Red Hot Chili Peppers to play full-time in their other band. 2 weeks after they left, Lindy Gautes obtained a 7-album deal with EMI America and Enigma Records for the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Who were the people that you were listening to when you were thinking of putting together the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Louis Loco and the Love Boats, Jesus Christ and the Mighty Christ Fighters, Los Faces.
Not to mention Harry Skidmore and the armpit hairs from Kalamazoo.
Uh-huh. And you have a tattoo, I noticed, of Jimi Hendrix on your left shoulder there. Was he an influence in the band? Can you make it talk?
Well,
We love Jimi Hendrix.
we like him, even though he's dead.
Anthony and Flea found themselves with a new contract and half of the band missing, so they went and recruited drummer Cliff Martinez and guitarist Jack Sherman from the band Weirdos. In August 1884, the first ever Red Hot Chili Peppers album came out with the same name as the band and sold 300,000 copies. The band wasn't particularly happy with the album because the producer, Andy Gill, pushed for the album to be more radio friendly. After the release of the album, the band went on a training tour where they performed 60 shows in 64 days. During that tour, tension started to rise between Kiedis and Sherman, who was consequently fired and replaced with Slovak, who had just quit What Is This and rejoined the Chili Peppers. Freaky Styley was the second album of the group. Produced by George Clinton, the sound of the album was different because he introduced elements of punk and funk. And also, during recording sessions, the band was using heroin. The album didn't really see any success, and the tour of the album was considered unproductive. Despite all of this, Kiedis considered the album to be a success and said that it surpassed anything that they thought they could have done. Around this time, the band's music appeared in some movies that exposed them even more to the world. The recording of the first Red Hot Chili Peppers album started with trouble. EMI gave them $5,000 to record the demo tape for it. The producer of the tape was going to be Keith Levine, who, with the support of Slovak, decided to put aside $2,000 of the demo budget for heroin and cocaine. Also, the drummer Martinez said his heart was no longer in the band, but he didn't want to quit, so Flea and Kiedis had to fire him. Irons rejoined the band as a drummer, and so the original Chili Peppers were back together.
How do you warm up for a gig like this? It's quite different than clubs.
Beanie gets into some serious scales that Spit Sticks taught him when he used to play in the band Fear. Jack, you can usually find doing a paradiddle on a table. I psych myself into a mental state of delirium. I go for the delirium mode of concentration. And it's kind of a small show for us, really. We're used to playing big shows.
Yeah.
It's one of the smaller shows on the tour.
It is kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
It's kind of disappointing.
But the thing is, we'll play anytime, anywhere. If it's a small crowd, hey,
Yeah, I heard you so.
For the actual album, the band wanted Rick Rubin to produce it, but he declined because of their drug problems. Michael Bainhorn was hired as a producer, and so the recording started. It didn't take long for them to be halted because of Anthony's drug problem. He was even briefly fired from the band. At that same time, the band was called Band of the Year by LA Weekly magazine. Kiddis joined the drug rehabilitation problem and managed to get clean before the group found a new singer, and so he rejoined. The songs started to come together easily and were a nice mix of their old music with a more punk rock vibe. The album peaked at number 148 on the Billboard Top 200 charts and was a significant improvement over their earlier works. With their newfound success, they quickly went on tour to promote the album. Sadly though, on tour, Anthony and Slovak started heavily using drugs again and would disappear for multiple days at a time. The last drop in the bucket was when Slovak died from a heroin overdose on June 25, 1988, soon after the end of the tour. Kiddis ran away from the city and Irons left the band because of depression. The band had a bit of a setback after the incidents that happened. They replaced the guitarist and drummer to fill the band. Anthony went to rehab for 30 days and visited Slovak's grave. Unfortunately, the guitarist didn't really connect well with the Peppers, so he was fired. The new drummer introduced Kiddis and Flea to a fan of the band called John Frusciante. They hired him and he performed his first show in September of 1988. The new band went on a short tour where they had to fire their drummer because of alcohol problems. The band had open auditions to find a new drummer and they hired Chad Smith, with whom they had an instant connection. This is the first time the Chili Peppers were as we know and love them today. In 1989, they started working on their fourth album. Sessions went smoothly besides the fact that they were being pushed to make a hit while Frusciante and Kiddis wanted to make something more poetic. Mother's Milk was released in August of 1989. It peaked at number 52 on the Billboard Top 200 chart. In the UK and Europe it didn't perform too well, but in Australia it went up to number 33. It was the first Red Hot Chili Peppers album to ship over 500,000 units and was certified gold in 1990. After the success of their last album, the band left EMI and signed with Warner Brothers Records. They finally hired Rick Rubin as a producer, who had previously refused to work with them because of their drug problems. This was the perfect moment for the Red Hot Chili Peppers to show the world their true potential. They went to the mansion, which is a 4-bedroom house owned by Rick, in which many other great albums have been produced. In September of 1991, Blood Sugar Sex Magic was released. Give It Away was the first song to be released as a single and became one of the band's best-known songs. It won a Grammy Award for Best Hard Rock Performance with Vocals and was the first Chili Peppers song to be number 1 on the modern rock charts. The second song to be released as a single was Under the Bridge. The song showed that the Red Hot Chili Peppers aren't only a punk rock band. The ballad talks about Anthony Kiddis' days as a heroin addict and the loneliness that came with it. It gives off so much emotion that anybody that listens to the song will melt down. The album was a success overall. It sold 12 million copies and was listed at number 310 on the Rolling Stones list of 500 greatest albums of all time. In 1992, it rose to number 3 on the US album charts. The fame was too much for Frusciante, who started a heroin addiction and abruptly quit the band after a show in Tokyo in 1992. He went back to Los Angeles, where he continued using heroin. The following times were complicated for the band. They tried to find a new guitarist, but that wasn't as easy as it seemed. They wanted Dave Navarro to be the new guitarist, since he just split from his band, but he had his own drug problems. They finally decided to hire Arik Marshall from the band Marshall Law. With him, the Chili Peppers headlined Lollapalooza Festival in 1992, and he also appeared in the music video for Breaking the Girl and If You Have to Ask, and performed with the band at the MTV Music Video Awards. He was later fired because he didn't have much time to attend rehearsals.
I don't ever wanna feel like I did that day. Take me to the place I love. Take me all the way. I don't ever wanna feel like I did that day. Take me to the place I love. Take me all the way. Yeah.
The Red Hot Chili Peppers found themselves again without a guitarist. This time they hired Dave Navarro, who first appeared with the band at Woodstock 94, where they performed early versions of new songs. After that, they went on a short tour, where the band's relationship with the guitarist started to deteriorate. He admitted that he didn't care for funk music or jamming with the band. Kiedis also relapsed into heroin usage after a dental procedure where he was sedated with Valium. He hid this from the band for a long time, with Kiedis being absent from recording sessions because of his usage and the songs coming together slower than with Frusciante. Flea took a big role in the making of the album, even singing on one of the songs called P.
Cellophane, carpet, bed, chewing gum, lamp, do not disturb, doorknob.
The album was released in September of 1995 after a few delays, and it sold 8 million copies. It did pretty well and even had the band's first #1 single, My Friend. It was a different sound for the Chili Peppers, a darker, sadder sound. The tour began in Europe in 1995. The US tour was delayed after Smith broke his wrist, and after 2 more years of deteriorating band relations and cancelled shows, in April 1998, Navarro was fired due to creative differences, although he was probably fired after going to a recording session high. This whole time, Frusciante was in a bad situation. His heroin addiction left him in poverty and on the verge of death. Flea convinced him to join a rehabilitation center in January of 1998. After recovery, he had a restructured nose, dental implants because of an oral infection, and scarring on his arms. The band was yet again without a guitarist. They were almost gonna break up when Flea went to the rehabilitation center Frusciante was staying at and asked him to rejoin the band. Frusciante agreed, and so the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and as we know them today, were back together. The band was stronger than ever would be an understatement. Californication came out in June of 1999, and it was the biggest success ever. The album sold over 16 million copies. It had 3 #1 modern rock hits: Scar Tissue, Californication, and Other Side. The album was praised by critics, had fewer rap songs and more melodic, textured guitar riffs, vocals, and bass lines. It was ranked at number 399 on the 500 greatest albums of all time. Californication came with a massive 2-year international tour. During the tour, the band played at Woodstock 99. They were the final act of a 3-day unorganized festival during which people didn't have anything to drink. The weather was extremely hot and they couldn't wash themselves because of a lack of water. While they were playing, riots started to form in the crowd, and it basically ended with everybody destroying the festival, stealing ATMs, and burning everything. The band was blamed in the media for the rioting because they played a cover of Fire by Jimi Hendrix.
Psychic spies from China try to steal your mind's elation. Little girl from Sweden And if you want these kind of dreams, it's Californication.
Immediately after the Californication tour, the next album started to take shape. Kiddis and Frusciante would write songs for days straight. Kiddis would say, and I quote, "Writing, by the way, was a whole different experience from Californication. John was back to himself and brimming with confidence." The album was released in July of 2002. The 4 singles that came out were, by the way, the Zephyr song, Can't Stop, and Universally Speaking. The album was a success. It had the most melodic songs yet, focusing more on ballads than rap, and had more keyboards and string arrangements. The album peaked at number 2 on the Billboard Top 200 and was followed by an 18-month world tour where the band's first live album was recorded. More than 258,000 fans paid over $17 million for tickets over 3 nights, a 2004 record. The event ranked number 1 on Billboard's top concert box scores of 2004.
Standing in line to see the show tonight. Have the light on, heavy glow. By the way, I try to say I feel.
Stadium Arcadium showed just how talented the band really was. They continued their streak by releasing a 28-track double album. It was their first release to debut at number 1 in the US, UK, and 25 other countries. It sold over 7 million units and won 5 Grammys.
And the Grammy for Best Rock Album goes to Stadium Arcadium, Red Hot Chili Peppers!
Thanks, everybody. Love to all, goodwill and peace and love to every living thing.
It means so much to all of us that our music connects with so many people. Thank you to each and every one of you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to thank my beautiful wife, Nancy, for supporting me, and these 3 guys standing behind me, and of course, Rick Rubin. And it's get out there and start a rock band. Bunch of kids, start rock bands. We need more rock bands.
I love being in this band. I love these guys. I love doing what we get to do. A lot of people put their hearts into this. It took us a couple of years. Rick Rubin was one of them. We had some great engineers. I love my mama. Thank you all.
There is no point in me talking about the singles or the tour anymore. The Red Hot Chili Peppers were on a roll and nothing could stop them at this point. When the tour ended, the band took a break. Kiddis became a father, Frulli started taking music theory lessons, Frusciante released a solo album, and Smith also worked on his solo project. In July 2009, Frusciante left the band again. This time it was on friendly terms, and he left because he wanted to pursue his own music. He was replaced by a friend of the band's, who played with them on the Stadium Arcadium tour, Klinghoffer. I'm With You, the 10th Chili Peppers album, was released in August of 2011. It again topped the charts in 18 countries and received positive reviews. The world tour for the album lasted from September 2011 until 2013. The only delay was in the North American part of the tour because Kiddis had to have leg surgery. In February 2014, the band performed at a Super Bowl halftime show alongside Bruno Mars in front of 115.3 million viewers. They played Give It Away and Kiddis sang on backing music. Flea said they only accepted this because it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. In 2014, they started another tour that ended in June 2014. The Getaway was the first album that was not produced by Rick Rubin since 1989. It was released in June 2016, and Kiddis said it was inspired by a 2-year relationship that fell apart. This was apparent in the fact that the album had a darker, almost sadder sound. Dark Necessities became the band's 25th top 10 single on the Billboard Alternative Song chart. The album was later also released on a pink vinyl, from where all profits would go to Gilda's Club, an organization that provides community support for those diagnosed with cancer and their caretakers. The Getaway World Tour would begin in September in North America, featuring Jack Irons, the band's original drummer. It was also during this time that Dave Ratt, the band's sound engineer since 1991, announced that he would be leaving the band. The world tour ended after a year and almost 5 months and 151 shows in October 2017. 2019 started off sad for the Red Hot Chili Peppers. On January 13th, they performed a show for the victims of the Woolsey fire incident. Then, in February, they performed Dark Necessities with Post Malone at the Grammy Awards. After that, they announced a month-long tour that started in Australia. During the tour, they also played at the Pyramids of Giza in Egypt, and in December 2019, the Red Hot Chili Peppers announced that after 10 years, they had split with Klinghoffer and Frusciante was rejoining the band. Unlimited Love is the 12th Red Hot Chili Peppers album and the first in Stadium Arcadium to have the band in the format we think about when we think about the band. It was also produced by Rick Rubin, and it shows. It debuted at number 1 in 10 different countries. The album was a breath of fresh air for the listeners. It had a melancholic feel to it that is portrayed by the great musicians in the band so well that you just get picked up by the songs and only get dropped off at the end. Return of the Dream Canteen is the same. You play the first song, and by the end you feel like you just left the planet for the whole album. The albums were recorded in the same sessions, and you can really feel that the band is more healthy and stable than ever, and I hope they will keep going for much longer.
A sailor spoke too soon, and China's on the dark side of the moon. Hit me now. Platypus are few, the secret life of